All right, we're back with more. Bob Pompeani, Tim Benz with you. 412-575-2600. So the Ravens get the #1 seed. Looks like New England. I saw a lot of New England that I liked yesterday in their win against Buffalo, because Buffalo gave them a fight. But at the end, it was
they ran the ball, Bob.
35 times they ran the ball.
Wow.
But they also passed the ball
Wow.
because of the ability to run the ball against that team, and they still did it. So I don't know. New England scares me. And every time someone thinks they're dead in the water, they seem to respond. And this might be another case of that. Who knows?
Yeah, well, exactly. That's why I refuse to give up on them, because everybody wrote the same articles and columns this year as they did last year. When last year you kept hearing over and over again, this looks different with the Patriots. What did it look different again this year? Because it looks exactly the same to me, that they had trouble midway through the season, and they figure it out, and they're going to be a threat again in the AFC playoffs.
Just a year later, Tom Brady, a little slower, but still getting it done if you give him the time. Across the middle, Julian Edelman and company, but they're really good. And that's one thing the Steelers have not done a lot of, throwing balls in the middle of the field. All right, let's go to the lines. We have David in the South Side. You're first up tonight, David. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I just want to make a comment. And that is, I remember when we had Big Ben, Brown, and Bell, and they were all at the top of their game. We were scoring more than 30 points a game, and we barely made the playoffs. And when we did, we was 1-out. And I don't know if I'm getting senile in my old age. What makes anybody with any kind of imagination think, with them three gone, or on injured reserve, that the Steelers can make the playoffs?
Because they're 8-7, and mathematically they still have a chance.
If I had told you at the beginning of the season, after Roethlisberger got hurt and then Connor followed with an injury and then Juju Smith-Schuster gets in, if you had said back then, would they get in? Most people at 1-4 with a bunch of cast-offs would say no way.
But I thought where he was going with that is, I thought he was going to say, how, with all that being the case, can you expect the Steelers to win in the playoffs? Which I don't think you can.
No,
I think they get smoked by whoever they play.
The only difference is this is totally different than what we've seen. They used to have offense and have to score 30 a game just to cover up for defensive woes. Now this is totally different. And defenses, in playoff games, you can make a difference. You can change the field as long as your offense doesn't implode. And last couple of weeks,
the cliche used to be, to his point, his not senile memory, but to his point, he said, when they all had those guys at the top of their game, we always used to say you're never out of it with the offense. Now it's at least the defense is going to keep it close. But as you can see, turnovers and sacks become fickle, right? I mean, they had basically one big defensive play today, and that's a sack and a turnover, the same play with T.J. Watt. Bud had one other sack besides that. But, even Minkah Fitzpatrick, who was Mr. Magic when it came to creating turnovers, he's had exactly one pass defense in the last 6 weeks. So, these things come and go. For as good as he is, these things come in waves. So you can't count on it every week, which is what was so impressive about Buffalo's defense, and how steady and consistent it is week in, week out, unless it's playing the Patriots.
Yes.
Who remembered how to run against
If I asked
them.
you back before the injury to Mason Rudolph, if Rudolph stays in the game, do you think they win the game?
Today?
Today.
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
because
me too.
at the very least, if everything is exactly the same the rest of the way, I think one of those two deep balls that were thrown either to Juju or James Washington get completed because the ball gets there on time a little faster, and they're not as contested, especially that Washington play.
Let's go to Pete in the Squirrel Hill area. What's up, Pete?
Hey, guys, how are you tonight?
Good, thanks.
Hey, Bob, about the Steelers game today, not just that game, but around the league. Case in point, 9 seconds ago, Bob, in the first half, somebody from the Wounded Warrior program could have defended that play better. Look what expansion has done to these professional leagues. These guys play and have no business, Bob, playing in football. What was that guy thinking?
Well, that was also
My
a coaching.
question, though, is, do you really think these professional leagues every year have to have Hall of Fame classes? Do you think Bill Cowher deserves to be part of the same fraternity as George Halas, Curly Lambeau, Vince Lombardi, Don Shula,
The game evolves, Pete.
Tom Landry?
The game evolves.
I think he's onto something. I think they should fold the Jacksonville Jaguars so the Steelers get better players. I think he's onto something.
Have an expansion draft or whatever you want to call it. But, hey, bottom line is that's also poorly coached by the Jets. There's no way there should be single coverage over there. Nobody back deep to prevent that from happening.
I don't know how he got from the third-string cornerback for the New York Jets stinks, so Bill Cowher shouldn't get into the Hall of Fame.
That was
That's quite the leap.
Normally, Pete's right on with us, but he kind of took a detour here tonight. Thanks, Pete, for the call. Let's go to Paul in New Brighton. What's up, Paul? Welcome to the Sports Call.
Hey, guys. What's going on? Got a question for you. When Finney stepped on Rudolph's foot and he went down, there was two defenders that jumped on him. All they had to do was touch him. He's down.
No, he went down and got up.
He tried
right?
to get back up. That was the problem.
Yeah, he got up and then he got sacked and
Right.
they fell on his arm, on his non-throwing arm.
That was more on Rudolph. He should.
come
I
on,
would have
let's-
just stayed down there.
You know, if you're saying that should have been a penalty, I'm trying to think what the calls would be like on this show if the exact same thing happened to a Steeler defender who got a penalty.
At
for
some
that.
point,
You're looking,
that's
you're looking,
football.
Yeah, you're looking through black and gold glasses there.
All right, Joe and McKee's Rocks. You were up next right here on Pittsburgh CW. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, thank you. Everybody's talking about this 1,000-yard receiver, 1,000-yard catcher. And I try to tell everybody, it's not 1,000 yards no more. 1,000 yards is when you play 12 games. That's roughly 83 yards a game. To be equivalent to the 1,000 yards rusher or passer in 16 games, you have to rush for 1,333 yards.
Okay, and your point is?
Well, all the analysis on these games, another 1,000-yard rusher. And, you know, it's not really 1,000 yards.
All right, it is, but it is. And I understand as they expanded the season, it reduces the number of yards you need to get to 1,000. But, you know, the
I'm
point is.
just impressed we got Curly Lambeau and 12-game seasons onto the same show.
We did. Hey, you know, get used to this. You're going to hear a lot of it. Tom in Altoona, you're up. Tom. All right, who are we going to in
Chris in
Aliquippa?
Aliquippa.
Chris in Aliquippa. What's up, Chris? How are you? Chris? Hello, Chris.
Oh, hi. How you doing, Bob?
All right, what's up?
Question for you. I was wondering, do you think Houston's going to rest its starters, which will hurt the Steelers' chances? And also, do you think it's time to move on from James Conner? Thanks.
Well, that second part of the question, we're going to put that to these guys on the showdown tonight. And when you're talking about moving on, it won't be next year, but they have to make a decision about long-term and whether or not they invest in James Conner as a feature back. Not that he can't do it, because he's proven when he's in there he can do it, Tim, but he also has to be in there to get that kind of money.
Exactly. Availability is the best ability, and he doesn't would amount to an extending free agent contract in between these 2 years, especially with all the other they have, not only on offense, but potentially to fill holes for Bud Dupree and Javon Hargrave on defense. I would really make Conner a much, much lower priority than that. Now, to his first point about Houston resting its starters, I think Houston should feel upon itself to play all of its regulars, but Baltimore should sit everybody. I think that's what should happen, Bob.
I think you're going to see a lot of backup players this weekend in the NFL at 425. That's just the way it is at this point of the season.
By the way, they did that for Oakland. Is that why they did that? Because now Oakland counts. Oakland matters.
Oakland does matter. Right, it does matter. And who would have thought that? But they still have a heartbeat at this point. We're going to take a break, come back with more of your calls. It's 412-575-2600. Call us right now on Pittsburgh.
Portions of this program sponsored by FanDuel Sportsbook.